I was standing in the kitchen, clutching the edge of the counter with both hands, when I finally worked up the nerve. My voice cracked as I said, "Dad, I need help with the wedding. Just a small contribution. Nothing big." He didn't even look up from his beer can. He leaned back in his chair, lips curling like I had just spat something disgusting. "You? A wedding? Who the hell would waste a dime on you?" My sister Emily, perched on the stool beside him with her perfect manicure and smug little smile, snorted. "She probably thinks she deserves flowers and a dress. Dad, don't even start. This is pathetic." Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video? I swallowed hard. My fiancé, Michael, had already stretched himself thin paying deposits. I wasn't asking for luxury. I just wanted my family to stand beside me like they always promised they would. "Please," I whispered. "It doesn't even have to be much. Just—" That was when he stood up. His chair screeched against the linoleum floor, the sound drilling into my chest. His face was red, not from the beer, but from the contempt he always saved just for me. "You ungrateful leech," he spat. "You take up space, you breathe my air, and now you want my money? Money I earned?" Emily laughed, clapping her hands like this was the best entertainment she'd had all week. "Tell her, Dad. Tell her where she belongs." I backed up, pressing my palm against the counter to steady myself, but he came closer, towering over me. Before I could move, his boot slammed into my stomach. The air left my lungs in one violent burst, and I collapsed to the floor, gasping. He didn't stop. Another kick landed sharp, brutal, aimed to break not just my body but my spirit. "Stay down there," he roared, his voice shaking the walls. "That's where you belong, on the floor, beneath us." Emily's laughter rang above me like shattered glass. "Perfect," she sneered. "She actually looks right down there." I curled into myself, arms around my stomach, choking back tears. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but my body wouldn't move. The pain radiated through my ribs, through my spine, until I thought I would pass out. And yet, the worst pain wasn't physical. It was the realization that this wasn't a moment of rage. This was what they believed, that I was worth less than nothing, that my pain was their entertainment. When Mom finally entered the kitchen, she didn't rush to me. She didn't even flinch. She glanced at me lying on the tile like I was a spilled drink, then turned to Emily and said, "You'll make such a beautiful bride someday. Don't let your sister's failure distract from your glow." My vision blurred, my hands shook, and in that moment, something in me shifted. I stopped begging. I stopped pleading for love that was never going to come. I lay on that cold floor, tasting blood in my mouth, listening to Emily's cackling and Dad's muttered curses. And I thought, one day, they're going to regret ever putting me here. I didn't get up right away. My ribs screamed every time I tried to breathe too deeply. Dad finally stomped off toward the living room, muttering, "Pathetic waste of skin," like it was his favorite lullaby. Emily followed, still giggling, and I stayed on the floor until the ache dulled enough for me to drag myself up. That night, Michael called. His voice was soft, worried. "Did you ask them?" I hesitated. My throat tightened. "Yeah. They said no." I couldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. I couldn't tell him that my father had tried to break me in half while my sister applauded. Shame wrapped itself around me like a chain. I just said, "We'll figure it out. Don't worry." The next days blurred. Every time I crossed paths with Dad, he smirked like he'd won something. Emily wouldn't let it go either. She'd whisper loud enough for me to hear, "Don't trip over your dress. Oh, wait, you won't have one." Or she'd lean over her phone and laugh. "Guess you'll just show up in rags, huh?" That'd be fitting. Even Mom joined in. At dinner, she slid the meat platter toward Emily first and said, "Real daughters deserve real food." Then she looked at me. "You're used to scraps anyway." I sat there, fork frozen in my hand, heart pounding. I wanted to scream, to hurl the plate across the room, to finally make them feel an ounce of what they'd given me. But I stayed quiet. I forced myself to swallow every insult, because I realized something. My anger fed them. My tears, my pleading, that was the show they loved. But my silence, my stillness, that scared them. The quieter I became, the louder they grew. Emily tried harder to get a rise out of me. She strutted into my room uninvited, holding up dresses she bought just to mock me. "You'll never wear anything this nice. Honestly, Dad's right. You belong under people's feet, not in front of them." Dad caught me one morning before work, blocking the doorway. He pressed his finger into my chest so hard it left a mark. "Don't you ever forget," he hissed. "You're nothing. If you walk down that aisle, it'll be because Michael is too stupid to see what you really are. Trash. And trash doesn't get weddings." I just looked at him. I didn't blink, didn't speak. For the first time, his face twitched like he wasn't sure if I was listening or plotting. He shoved past me, but I caught that flicker, that brief uncertainty. That was the moment I knew. I had to stop trying to earn their love. It wasn't love they gave me, it was chains. And if I stayed in those chains, they'd drag Michael and my future into the same pit. I began to plan quietly. I started spending less time at home, staying later at work, meeting vendors on my own. Emily noticed, and it infuriated her. "Look at her, pretending she can handle things without us," she spat one evening. "Dad, you should have kicked her harder." He laughed, but I saw the unease in his eyes. My silence was louder than any scream. One evening, I stood outside in the yard, staring up at the windows of the house. Emily's shadow flickered across the curtains, and Dad's voice boomed inside. For the first time, I didn't feel trapped. I felt patient, because I wasn't broken. I wasn't on the floor anymore. I was waiting for the right moment, the moment when they'd finally learn that everything they built on cruelty could crumble with one pull of the thread. And the best part? They'd never see it coming. The day finally came when Emily paraded into the kitchen waving an envelope. "Guess what, Dad? Tyler proposed. We're going to have the biggest, most beautiful wedding this town has ever seen." She made sure I was sitting right there when she announced it, her voice dripping with triumph. Mom clapped. Dad stood up and hugged her like she'd won an Olympic medal. Then his eyes cut to me. "See? That's how a real daughter does it. Not like you begging for scraps." I didn't argue. I just sat still, my hands folded. But inside, my plan clicked into place. Emily's wedding became their obsession. All the money, all the attention, all the pride was thrown at her. Dad maxed his credit cards, Mom worked extra shifts. Every ounce of effort was poured into showing off that Emily was the jewel of the family. I watched silently, letting them believe I was crushed, forgotten. They never noticed how carefully I was watching. The night of her rehearsal dinner, Michael and I were already seated, because I had arranged the venue myself, months earlier, under Emily's nose. She didn't know the contract for the hall had her name on it, but mine on the payments. I had paid for the booking quietly, with every overtime shift and every side job I could grab. And when she waltzed in, expecting to be the star, she froze. The staff greeted me by name. The head server asked me, "Would you like us to bring out your cake now?" Emily's eyes darted to me, wide and confused. "What? What is she doing?" she snapped at Dad. "This is my night." I stood slowly, microphone in hand, heart pounding but steady. "Actually, Emily, no. This is mine. This is our night." Michael slipped his arm around me, steady as stone. "This is my wedding reception. Tonight." The guests, their friends, Dad's coworkers, Mom's church ladies, all turned, stunned. Murmurs rose like a tide. Emily's face twisted, her cheeks blotchy with rage. "You can't do this. This was supposed to be about me." Dad shoved his way toward me, his face crimson. "You tricked us. You conned us into coming here?" I met his eyes. "No, Dad. You came here because you thought you were here to celebrate Emily. You never even asked me where my wedding was, because you didn't care. You thought I'd stay on the floor where you left me, but I got up." His mouth opened, ready to spit more venom, But then the manager walked up, holding the contract. "Everything is in her name. Every payment cleared. She's the client, not your other daughter." Gasps filled the room. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Emily looked like she'd swallowed poison. And then, the final blow. I motioned to the staff, and they rolled out a projector. Photos appeared on the screen. Not of me, not of Michael, but of the bruises on my stomach, the cuts on my arms, the scars I had hidden. I had documented everything, quietly, waiting for this night. The room went silent. Then whispers started. "Her father did that? Did you hear what her sister said? How could a family do that?" Emily lunged for the plug, shrieking, "Turn it off! She's lying!" But Michael stepped in front of her. "Sit down, Emily." Dad grabbed a chair, his voice booming. "You think this makes you look strong? You're just airing dirty laundry like trash." But the people who once respected him looked away. His co-workers muttered excuses and left early. Mom's friends shook their heads in disgust. The image of their perfect family shattered in real time in front of everyone they had tried to impress. And as I stood there, microphone in hand, I finally said the words I had swallowed for years. "You told me I belonged on the floor. Tonight, I stand above you, and you'll never escape what you did. Not in this town, not in your own home." Dad's face went pale. Emily's makeup streaked down her cheeks as she wailed. Mom tried to grab my arm, whispering, "Please, stop this. You're ruining us." I pulled away. "No, you ruined yourselves. I just let the world see it." That night, I walked out with Michael, our guests following us to celebrate our wedding, the real wedding they had tried to erase. Behind me, I could still hear Emily screaming at Dad, Mom sobbing, chairs crashing. For the first time in my life, their chaos wasn't mine to carry. It was theirs to choke on, and I didn't look back. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.